Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Today, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, is back in London this morning for what was meant to be the IMF's regular review of the state of the UK economy. But the Managing Director, Christine Lagarde, flanked by her friend, the Chancellor, George Osborne, devoted most of the press conference to what she said was the risk to the UK economy if we vote to leave the EU. She was asked by the BBC's Kamal Ahmed why the IMF felt it was appropriate to intervene in such a heated political debate at such a critical moment.
We do that on a regular basis when there is a major election coming up. Brazil, for instance, was a case in point. And we do that because we need to have a dialogue with authorities that are empowered, that are in position, and that can actually take ownership of their policies and explain to us what their policies will be going forward. So in the case of a referendum, that's another matter. The authorities are not going to be removed as a result of such matters.
So she didn't intervene because there was an election, but she feels free to intervene even though there's a referendum, which many people may regard as more important to the future of the country. How does that work? And it's not just that. She's going to intervene again within a week of the referendum debate because they're going to publish a full report fleshing out all the fire and brimstone and dire consequences that will follow. Is that really fair?
Well, I think George Osborne will be absolutely delighted that his friend, Christine Lagarde, has delivered and promised to deliver again for the Remain side of
So it's an old boys and girls act.
There's a little bit of that. Look, I don't think that they're going to be hanging off every word that Christine Lagarde says in Burnley today, and I don't think this is a moment where there's going to be a big bounce, but it is undoubtedly a big building block of the government and Remain causes case, which is that there's pretty much a clean sweep of big international institutions that think that it would be risky to vote Remain. And Christine Lagarde has quite a nice way with words. She said, "I've looked around, talked to people, and it's between the quite risky, the quite bad, and the very, very bad if we leave."
Well, in fact, what she says is that she has seen, or the IMF people have seen credible, she calls them credible forecasts, that we could lose up to 10% of our GDP if we vote to leave. I mean, isn't this getting ridiculous? 10%. So it would be more serious than the great crash of 2008, which didn't take 10% off us. More serious than the Great Depression. More serious than the First World War. I mean, what? More serious since the Romans landed on the south coast. I mean, what? 10% of GDP.
And that is certainly a lot more than quite a lot of the other comparative forecasts that we've had. There doesn't seem to be an IMF forecast, it's a forecast.
No, she said she looked at what she called credible forecasts that range from 1.5 to 9.5.
But we don't know quite who the 9.5 is yet, which is quite key. Look, I think that the way that this works. So the IMF has always been a bit of a political institution, and that in a sense is the way that it will be attacked by the Vote Leave campaign. It was an organisation that you could make the case missed the financial crisis. You can point out that it did, which it did. You can point out that it was asking for Britain to change course just at the point where the economy was recovering, and arguably it didn't need to. So which it did. So you can make a perfectly good case that its track record is checkered. Fascinatingly, Vote Leave have today put out a press release even reminding people that Christine Lagarde herself could face criminal charges. There are no big institutions that Vote Leave aren't going to aim their bazooka at in this debate.
So they're playing the woman, not the bull. All right, we shall see.
I've been getting away with